welcome to the Pete Braley Show. I'm your host, Pete Braley. Thank you so much for tuning in today. On this show, we try to shine the spotlight on people that have really had an impact on our life here in Greater New Bedford. And today we have two guests with us, a father-daughter team, you might say. From Poyant Signs in New Bedford, please welcome the president, Richard Poyant, and his daughter, the director of sales operations, Stephanie Poyant Moran. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to finally connect with you here. Poyant Signs, a company that's been here since, did I read 1938?
Yeah.
Okay.
1938.
Started by not your dad, right? His dad.
Right. Correct. Yeah, my grandfather, Morris Poyant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the family business, your father worked there, I guess, and then took over, right?
Yeah. Yes. So my grandfather actually started working in a textile mill.
Okay.
In New Bedford. And I think he left school in the 6th grade. And family, that's what they did in the 20s. He found out pretty quickly that it was too boring for him, and he wanted to do something more creative. So he found himself a job with a local sign company, and worked for the owner, Mr. Brochu. And he really liked the work, and what he learned how to hand letter.
Okay.
Where, so they would paint paper signs for like supermarkets.
Okay.
And small family markets and tire stores and automotive places, things like that. And that was a lot of what sign making was at the time. And then the owner passed away, and so my grandfather decided to open up his own sign shop. Along the way, he went to school at the Swain School of Design to learn more about creativity, and from there he just continued to develop, working in the sign industry, focused on New Bedford and small businesses in New Bedford. And interestingly enough, his father was a cobbler, a shoe cobbler.
Oh, wow.
And my grandfather Morris had a brother Leon and a brother Alphonse. And all these guys were entrepreneurs. And they would lend money to each other, kind of like the French mafia, and to help each other out, whether it was buying a new piece of equipment or what have you, right? And so, of course, my grandfather built a nice sign for Poyant Shoes.
Right.
Which opened, a retail.
I used to go there as a kid on the avenue.
So did we, of course.
Of course.
It was a grand sign right on the avenue, and then my uncle my great uncle Alphonse, he opened up a business like across the street from the shoe store called Cookie Land.
Oh, wow.
And they would buy like broken cookies and put them in tubs, and you could come in and pick out what you wanted, and they made a business doing that.
Who would have thought that, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
So each of them helped each other, and the businesses grew. And that's how he got started. Eventually, his first shop was on Coffin Avenue, which was right near the shoe store.
Right. So they were all together.
They're all like right there in one block, I think. And a couple of years after, he bought a building on Acushnet Avenue in the north end, further north, and we were there for 60 years.
That's right.
We were there for 60 years. Over time, he expanded off the original building. He built a big garage, and they started painting buses for Almeida Bus.
Almeida Bus, there's a name.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Almeida Bus had their terminal on Route 6, like Kempton Street.
Right.
Like near
Zindy's Furniture?
Yeah. No, I think it was further. I think It's further up.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's where like the CVS and the Walgreens are today.
I think you're right.
In that
yeah.
area.
Yeah. Stephanie's like, huh? What?
Yeah. I don't know if she's even heard this before, but and so they learned to make to find needs and satisfy those needs, you know, and over time he grew the business. They started making custom neon style signs for businesses on Acushnet Avenue and in the South End. Alameda Bus, of course, they made a sign for them. A lot of neon tubing, sheet metal craftsmanship, and they did that in the building on Acushnet Avenue. And then eventually my grandfather retired and my dad took over. And we continued to expand. We started doing business with businesses in Fall River and all throughout southeastern Massachusetts.
And now how far does it reach?
On a regular basis, we're all over New England. Our crews leave all from New Bedford. They could go out on one-day installs or multiple days at a time. Sometimes we're at a location for an entire week, depending on how large it is. Also, we'll send crews out to Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and we ship signs all over the country.
Oh wow! So and it all started in that one small company.
Yeah. Yes.
I assume that now you have a lot. I worked with Richard's sister Lynn for a number of years, so I've heard some of these stories about. Number one, you have what? 5 brothers and sisters, so there's 6 of you?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
I'm
the oldest, and my brother's the youngest. Yep.
Did you all work? Work summers in the sign shop?
Yeah, they all did a stint in the company, and summer has been between school, and they all decided not to stay.
Okay.
You know.
Did you see yourself doing this, or did you?
Yeah, I was.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Doing exactly what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I was at a very young age. I realized I wanted to do what my grandfather and my father were doing. I thought it was really cool and creative, and I've been in it all my life. Did
Lynn tell me once that it was not unusual for a Sunday drive? Your dad.
Oh yeah.
He would tell a little bit about that story.
Yeah, we'd go on a secret drive, you know, and generally, we'd pack the car with the kids, and he would take us to look at signs that had been installed in the last week around town. That's what, and then maybe if we're really good, we went for ice cream, but at Freights or something that, you know. Yeah.
Wow. How about you, Stephanie? Did you oversee yourself? You've had a number of different roles, right? Because our paths have crossed. You used to work in the mayor's office. You used to work for South Coast Hospitals, right? Was the family business always in your mind?
So I think from a young age, I knew that I was always interested in seeing what it would be like. And I decided to go to college for business, and it was in my first year of school. I had come home, I was going to school in Florida at the time, and I came home for break, and it was kind of a big year for Poyant. We were in the beginning of, I should say, a conversion from Brooks Pharmacy was buying out Osco Drug.
Okay. So
it was, 80 locations to take care of. We had yet to develop the project management role within the company. Okay. So my father had just brought on his first project manager, and I think it was like week 1, and he said, "Hey, I could really use your help. Could you come and do some work for the month that you're home between Christmas and the end of January, and help me organize and plan for this conversion? We have to send out for permits and do site surveys and prep for what the new signs are going to look like." So then I stayed for 5 years. I moved back home.
It didn't take that long to do the job, but
no. Let's be clear. Let's be clear.
No, I loved it. I loved every aspect of it. I really enjoyed project management. You got to learn all facets of the organization by being in that role, because you had to work. You got to work with the customer side. You had to work with production and making sure you gave them their work orders and that they were on track for the installations. And then you worked with the installation crews, making sure that they were able to install everything in the field without any issues, and you were their point of contact. So it allowed me to learn very quickly all of the different areas within the business, and I learned to love it.
Right. I would think technology has had a huge impact on your business.
Oh, sure.
As you were talking about your grandfather, I'm like, I wonder what he would think if you could see how it's done now.
We would love to have him, to love to have him walk through and see. Because, what we outgrew Acushnet Avenue around in the late 90s. We had bought our largest competitor. The owners had retired. We bought the business.
Mm-hmm.
They were in Brockton, and they had great accounts. They had Cherry and Webb. They had Shaw's Supermarket.
Oh, wow.
They had Tedeschi's Supermarket. So that's in the sign business, having those kind of multiple location
Right.
accounts
That's
was
huge.
really good. So when we acquired them, we brought their manufacturing from Brockton into New Bedford, and we just didn't have the room anymore.
Right.
So,
now you're in the business park?
so now we're in the business park, and
Right.
my dad went out, looked at different places, and found this building. It was empty at the time. And we acquired it and moved in 1999. And so we went from 12,000 square feet to 50,000 square feet,
wow.
which is where, and grew into it, basically.
We should point out that your dad has since passed away. That was, what,
2 years ago.
2
Yeah.
years ago. What a nice man. I had a chance to meet him at different things, and
Yeah.
You're a very nice man. And must have been a great grandpa.
Oh, he absolutely was.
Yeah.
Someone that you want to make proud, for sure.
Chuba, I asked you before we got started, so I didn't hit you with this cold. There must be projects that stick out in your mind. Either, boy, that was great to do, or boy, that was hard to figure out how to do. Do you have any stories for us about different signs?
We both have stories. I'll tell you about this one that really does stand out for me. We were still on Acushnet Avenue when we were awarded the project to replace the Sheraton Hotel sign in downtown Boston.
Oh.
And so the building that was about 300 feet high, and we needed to manufacture 12-foot tall letters that spelled Sheraton.
12-foot tall letters?
12-foot tall letters, and there was one set on each side of the building. We had to, and at that time they were made using neon tubing as the illumination source, and these were all metal fabricated in our shop, and we could really only build one at a time because of the size of them.
Right.
And then we had to figure out how we were going to get it up on the building and take down the old set of letters. And it was working off of a swing stage, which is kind of like you see window washers
Yes.
use on tall buildings in Boston or anywhere. So we had never done that before. And we had to figure out a way to bring the letters up because the cranes weren't tall enough to reach the building, so we had to winch them up one at a time and bolt them to the side of the building. And it took about 2 months to install
I can
the
imagine.
2 sets of letters, because you got to work when the weather is allows
too
you
much wind, you
too
can't
much
do it.
wind or
Right.
rain. It's not safe to do that.
Right.
But that was so that was a landmark sign that was up for years. And now we've built other landmark signs, really.
Yeah. I think some of there's several kind of landmark Boston sign projects that come to mind when you ask about unique situations. And the first one I think of actually is the Converse headquarters in Boston.
Oh, right.
And those letters have 2 unique, I think, well, a few unique items in them, but one is there's the centers of the letters are made to look like a wooden paneling, if you
Right.
will, right? And then the finish on the outside of the letters is a patina finish. So that's a hand-painted custom. We make it look like it's patinaed copper, right?
Yeah.
And those letters were also, I don't know.
They're like 10 feet high.
Yeah, 10 feet high.
tall.
And then they had color-changing LEDs in them. So talking about technology and how things have evolved, in our industry, it's a combination of the technological advances, but also what your team can do themselves, right? What craft can do. It still comes down to having talented painters.
Right.
Because yes, they're spraying in the booth all day, but the finishes, the custom finishes, are all done by hand still.
You're just back from a trade show in Vegas, aren't you?
Yes. Yep.
Are they still, are there new things that?
Absolutely, always. And digital printing, the newest, latest, and greatest. And there's 3D printing now. The different types of laser or ways you can cut material, right? So the advancements in routers. We looked at a really very cool fiber laser that was cutting some images out of steel. There's different. You can, instead of using real stone, you can use. There's this company, I'm sure there's multiple companies, one in particular that we use, who can create a faux foam finish. So instead of using real stone and having a mason do it, there's a more cost-effective way that's weather resistant that can be done through a foam finish. There's so much up. The advancements in lighting, how tiny they can make the LEDs these days,
Wow.
to the different ways they can program color changing LEDs to make it do whatever you want it to do, to music, whatever. I mean, it's really
Have the
outstanding.
LEDs replaced neon, or are we still using
Completely.
neon?
There are people nostalgia, right? I mean, people want that neon.
Right.
There are some
like
people.
Like a 50s diner.
I mean,
Right, right.
the most
Yeah.
recent example I feel like, or that I can think of off the top of my head, is so the Biltmore Hotel in Providence, which
Yes.
is now the Graduate. They have kept their old rooftop signage, even though their name has changed.
Right.
When
But
we
it's
built
iconic.
it
It's the
is.
Biltmore.
It's iconic. But
Right.
when we made the new signs for the Graduate, which are on the street level, we used real neon because the roof signs
Okay, to
had
match.
neon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's such a unique skill to be able to bend neon that it's very hard to find people that are still doing it. We have a partner
right.
that does, but the person that does it works part-time, and if they get sick, then it takes longer. And so but people still love it. So it's something that does happen every once in a while, and we're fortunate to be able to have it come through
To
the shop
survive
every
that,
yeah, absolutely.
Did I read that that big what is it, Schraff's Candy in Boston? That's your son.
Yeah, well, she handled the project.
You handled that
Stephanie handled
project?
that project, yeah.
What was that? Because that's way up there.
It is, yeah. And so the task at hand for that project was that the sign was getting to a point, the old signage, there's 3 sides. The building has the sign on 3 sides on the rooftop of the building. And it was deteriorating because it had been up for so long.
Is that in Boston, Lynn, or
Charlestown.
Charlestown?
Yep.
Okay.
And so they wanted us to rebuild it, but so much to mimic the existing signs that you would essentially not be able to tell they were replaced.
Okay.
So they also didn't want to stick with neon because servicing that sign when the light goes out is a challenge. I mean, there's catwalks that are underneath the sign so that the service techs can get up there and do what they need to do, but it's certainly not a job for the weak at heart. It's it's quite a
I
task.
think that's a specialty, like with radio
high-rise.
towers, the people that replace the lights on the
Yeah.
top of radio towers, that is a specialty.
Oh, yeah.
And it ain't cheap.
Oh no,
No.
and you need someone who loves it,
Yeah.
is not afraid to get up there. So the new signs were built the same construction method. We matched the same colors, and we used for us it was one of the earlier on projects where we used an LED tubing that mimics the look of neon. So it's not neon, but it's shaped
Looks
that
like it,
way.
yeah.
Versus our standard LEDs that we're using day to day, they're little modules, right? They're not a tube, and this was a tube that was made to mimic the neon, and then we had to use vinyl to match the color because the color of the lighting is almost like it's a reddish pink, even though letters are red, but the tubing lights up almost on the pink side.
Wow.
So we were able to color that tube. Now there's lots of different ways to do that because technology has advanced since then. Just using color changing LEDs, for example, could make whatever color you want.
Wow.
But it was a fun project.
Your dad obviously saw some of these new inventions. And did he embrace the technology?
Oh, always. You know,
Yeah.
my grandfather and father were always working to keep up with the next best thing, you know, and bring those, either whether it's equipment, whether it was crane trucks, or different methods, or even like estimating software that
Right.
when it was first introduced, which was in the 80s, on magnetic cards
Oh, yes.
that we had to feed into a, you know, I forget if it was a Honeywell or some kind of card reader, and then you'd punch in the dimensions of the sign and what the wording was going to be, and it would give you an estimate instead of doing it all by hand, you know. So for all those things, we've continually looking, like with Stephanie went to our annual World Expo last week in Vegas. It's looking at what's the technology, what can we adopt and bring in-house that will help us stay ahead.
Sometimes it's as simple as like lean manufacturing, right? Like how can we do things more efficient and learn from other national or other sign companies across the country, across the world. So it's not always technology, but just knowledge, and someone figured out how to, you know, a better process of a particular aspect of the company. But we also talked a lot about AI at this
I was
you
going
know,
to ask you
show.
about that, but I would think in your business, and correct me if I'm wrong, you still need the human element. You
Absolutely.
still need, whether or not they're designing it by hand or using a computer, it still needs to be a person doing it.
Yeah, and I think that it will. One thing that we've talked about in our organization is learning to use AI as a tool, something that can support what you're doing to make your job easier. But you're always going to need the knowledge and skill, I think, in our industry of, you know, the human aspect of it.
And you're always going to need someone to go up that crane.
Oh, absolutely. Hang off that building.
Yeah, there aren't any
Have you
robots
ever
doing
done
that yet.
No, no. Have you ever done that?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been up 100 feet,
Wow.
or on the roof of a building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's,
no fear, or
well, now I'm not so sure if I would do it because I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah,
You know, you get
yeah.
used to it, and you know, when the crane is moving in the wind, you know, you get accustomed to it if you're doing it. But if I haven't done it
in a while.
in a while.
So how does this work? If I realize that I need a sign, do I need to have an idea when I go to you, or?
So we have a world-class design team, and we can help create logos. We can take a logo that you have, and the combination of our sales account executive who will meet with you at your location and look at your space and talk about how customers move through your space, can help create a sign package that can bring people through the door, but also help with your environment, once you get in the business, once you
wow.
get into the business in your lobby space, or
Right.
if you have a cafeteria for your employees. And so there's so much more than just like that one
Okay.
sign on the, you know, entrance of the building.
I would like this on top of this building. Can you do it?
Absolutely, of course
Oh,
we
for
can.
sure.
In a million
That's
different
easy.
ways. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You make the letters dance.
That we sure
Yeah,
can.
Any signs of slowing down? I mean, this company's been around since 1938, and I see your trucks everywhere on the highways as I'm heading up 24 or whatever.
No, we're always aiming to grow, and we love sharing our knowledge and experience with businesses and organizations. What our satisfaction is helping our customers grow their business, establish their brand,
Right.
and having it look good for the long term.
You know,
So
and
we're
I
going to
think
continue to do that.
the other thing that's important to mention is we want to work with whoever's looking to work with Poyant. We don't only service the large, you know, headquarters
Corporate.
out of Boston, right, or those multi-location accounts.
If I wanted to open a bookstore,
Exactly.
I'm welcome.
Always. We don't. We're not industry specific. We're not. Again, like geographic location. If you are looking for our assistance, we're here to help.
You mentioned what, Pennsylvania? What's the furthest account you have?
Well, we have been doing this new customer is called Intimissimi. They're a company out of Italy, and we're doing work for them in California right now.
Oh, wow.
We do Dunkin' Donuts in Florida, Ohio. I'm just talking outside of New England. We do a lot of casino work. And we did a large casino last year in West Memphis, Arkansas. We're going to be doing another one
West
in the
Memphis, Arkansas.
I know, right?
I don't even know where that is.
No, I have to remind myself that it's Arkansas because it's west.
Tennessee.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so we're going to be doing some other casino projects on the East Coast later this year. Lots of CVS work, Dunkin' Donuts work in the Pennsylvania, New York market. So everywhere.
Are you traveling to those places for those occasions?
Personally,
Yes.
I do not usually.
Okay.
I will go out and see customers with some of my sales team in the New England market, and whenever I am asked to be there, I will certainly travel for it. But we're very fortunate to have a very experienced and knowledgeable sales team, and they each have their own area of the country that they work in, where it works for their family, and
nice.
if they're some of them will travel every day.
I'm sure over the years you've had plenty of road trips, right?
I was in the car all the time, all the time. I put on an average of 50,000 miles a year.
Wow.
But since then, we've expanded our sales team, and Stephanie came back into the business. We didn't really talk about that, but after
10 years ago, I've been back
10 years,
for 10 years
yeah.
now.
Oh, what?
Started out selling that time.
Okay.
So I was on the road again.
Yeah,
We've
You've
had
all
done
done
that.
your time on the road.
I mean,
Yeah.
we both
I mean,
love it.
we
We both
love it.
love it.
Yeah, I hate it,
It's just you
giving it
can't
up.
do it all, right? Or else you can't do it all well. That's
Right,
the key. So we've built up a phenomenal team in every area of our business. We are very fortunate for the team we have behind us, and it's really important to us that we have a family-oriented organization. Where your balance, work-life balance, is very important to us, and it shows, I think, in the work that we can produce with the team that we have, that they're happy to be working for us.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, and
Thank
what
you.
a great story. What a great family company that's been in the city since 1938
Yes.
and shows no signs of slowing down.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Pete.
you for having us.
If you know someone that you think we should have on the show, someone that's added to life here in Greater New Bedford, you can message me on Facebook. I'm also on X, and you can find me on X. It's at Pete Braley, or email thepetebraleyshow@gmail.com. That's thepetebraleyshow@gmail.com. As we always do, we end each episode with a thought for the day, and our thought this time comes from Winston Churchill, who once said, "The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty." Think about it. Okay. No matter what, thank you, and go out and make it a great day.